Welcome to the East Bridgewater School Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. Have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
And second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. We can start with our Pledge of Allegiance to the Republic for which we stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome, and obviously this starts our cycle of one meeting a month. I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to fit everything in, and we'll do our best. This will be our first attempt at it, and hopefully we don't go over some number of minutes here. That's unreasonable, and that's our objective anyway. So bear with me. Any feedback you have, please let me know so we can always be improving. We moved up the public comments. If anyone's here for public comment, which I don't think they are, so we will move on with that, and then we'll turn to Ainsley, who's our Student Advisory Council. Ainsley, what do you have to tell us?
So the main thing that I want to talk about today is the new student schedule at the high school. Personally, I like the new schedule. So it's 5 classes a day. They run about an hour long, and then we have one class that runs 2 hours, but it's our lunch block, so it makes sense why it's 2 hours long. I like it. Also, I also don't have a lot of homework at the end of the night, which is nice. And it's honestly, it goes very quick. It is a little weird to get used to, considering we used to have a 4-block schedule a day, with the Viking block in the middle of the day. But this schedule is, I feel, much more organized. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm sure there'll be more as the year unfolds.
Yes.
We appreciate it. And I don't know what we set up. You're welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but I imagine you have homework and things. If you need to go, you're welcome to do so.
All right.
All right.
Unfortunately, I do have work to do.
I guess anytime somebody dismisses you, that's a good news. I think so. But thank you, Ainsley. We'll look forward to your reports as we go forward.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. And Superintendent's Corner.
I'm going to leave a lot for the principals this evening. Talked a little bit about their school openings, but on the district end, watching the schools open, we had a terrific opening. Buses were on time. We always say that, get out there 10, 15 minutes early and wait for buses. Parents were in line dropping students off, or the kids were on bikes coming into school. It really was seamless, and it's seamless because we have a great crew, great staff that was ready to go on time and ready. The principals did a tremendous job getting their buildings ready, getting teachers in places, getting everyone set up for opening day. This last week we had kindergarten come in, and today was the 4th day, right, Kate? And this is right about now, 4th or 5th day, we start to see a little bit, I don't know about this. I thought I came to school 2 days, and then I could go home and see my parents and stay home for 2 days, and now I just came back. So today, as they were getting off the bus, they're a little more hitchy, like, what's happening? This is 3 days in a row here. I don't know about this. So, but terrific. I mean, we are jam-packed all over. The kids are in school. The lunches, kids are enjoying their food. It's really nice to see the kids back. I've been in the schools, been around. It's wonderful that we have so many things going on. We have a new turf project. If you have not seen it, I ask you and implore everyone to go outside and take a look at that turf as you leave tonight, or if you're listening this evening, please come up and take a look at it from the sidelines. It's gone up so quickly. It looks tremendous. it's very, very nice. We have some new custodians, so the buildings are starting to look and feel a little bit better. They're not everybody's so crunched for time. So we're trying to add some people to that field, and so the buildings are looking even better. And we also have a couple of retirements that I received. One was from Mrs. Janice Griffin, will be retiring over on 1/31/25, January 31st, 2025. She's a grade 7 ELA teacher. She was actually down in our office today doing some paperwork and starting to feel it out, and that she's definitely going to go. We had a conversation about it last year, and she's ready to go. I don't think it's easy, but we had conversation, and she's getting her paperwork together. Cheryl Pitsley decided to go over the summer. She was an ISA for us, and you know, no one ever wants to leave once you've been here and you've worked with kids and you've worked with a great administrative staff. But she decided that it was her time to go, so we want to wish her the best as well. And she is not here with us right now. She's retired and off doing some things that she would like to do. So, and we've appointed the school crossing guards, and I think you'll see them in here, but those are appointed. The HR and DEI position that is up there, we need to schedule a budget subcommittee. We just haven't had, it's the beginning of school, so I tried to schedule one. I guess we just couldn't get everybody on the same day or time, but we will schedule one in the next week or so. I'll put it back out there and see when we can get a budget subcommittee. I do want to take a moment, though, to talk about safety. Last week, there was a shooting in Georgia where a teacher was killed. 2 teachers were killed, a coach and a teacher, both were teachers. Students were killed and injured, and then there were other students that have been injured. Ironically enough, Dr. Williams and myself, Chief Jenkins and his deputy, and Chief Herron and his deputy met the night before to talk about our safety plans here in the district and to talk about what we do, and are we ready and are we prepared for any type of incident, whether it's a fire, whether it's a fight, a brawl, whether it is a weapon of any sort. And we had that conversation. We talked about rally points. One of the rally points we have moved, and we are going to be, we're changing that in the handbook on our safety procedural handbook, and that is at Central School. Instead of going across Route 18, they'll all come this way up into this upper field, and we will be getting that out and getting that information out and putting it into our safety manual and our procedural manual, and what is our procedures and where do we go and what are the protocols that we go through, and we had that conversation. But what I want to say about this is not isolated. This is not just Georgia. This isn't Colorado and Columbine. This isn't Sandy Hook. This isn't in Florida. This can happen anywhere at any time. I put in my opening letter that I think parents, guardians, grandparents, foster parents, whoever lives with a child, look at their screen time. Look at what they're looking at, look at what they're reading, see what TikToks, Instagrams they're following, whatever it is, to see where they're at or who they're texting. Most students or children, there will be some type of message that will come through, whether through themselves or in a writing or a text message to somebody or someplace along the line, or hopefully maybe one of our psychologists or adjustment counselors or teachers or assistant principals or anybody might have saw along the way that something's just not right. I implore every parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, cousin, aunt in Iowa, who sees something on a child's Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it is, if you see something about a child that does not look right, you need to call the school immediately. You need to call the police immediately and let us know that you believe there may be an issue that could happen. Nobody wants to get anybody in trouble. Nobody wants to tell anybody. No one wants to be the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy if I hear something, because I don't want 15 other people to get injured or killed or anything else. If we do not work together as a community, then we're letting these kids just listen and have thoughts that just are unreasonable and could hurt and damage themselves and others. And when I talk about whether it is them coming in with a weapon or whether it is suicidal, if you hear it, you think it, or somebody or another student said to you, you need to let us know. Let a teacher, a principal, the nurse, anybody, an adult know. Let your mother, your father know. Let your aunt, your uncle know. Let your brother know. Let somebody else know that there's a problem and have them call us, whether it's at the Mitchell School, Central School, or the high school, or the town hall. I think my son's going into town hall. I think I heard this over at Subway. I think I heard this. We hear this a lot. I heard this in the hallway today. We saw this today. Mr. Silva came down and saw me. We hear things all the time. Believe us, there's an investigation process. There's an investigatory process that they go through. They start to investigate with students. They pull students out. They check students. We call our school resource officer. We call the other schools. We ask for extra help. We ask if it's a student who is new to us, new to Bill in 7th grade. We call down immediately to Mrs. Dupre. Mr. Paquette, is there something we should know about this student? We should already know those things, but if not, and the student's name comes up or something comes up, we need to know those things. It's a tragedy that we have these types of rifles unlocked. I've said this before. I come from upstate New York in the Adirondacks. Hunting is a big piece of people's lives. You know, Thanksgiving Day break up there as they get an extra day because turkey season begins. It's a part of their life. Young men and young women use rifles, use, traps, bow and arrows, all of those types of weaponry. But they use them for hunting, or I would hope at least use them for hunting. Mm-hmm. This type of assault rifle that was bought for a child and that was put unlocked in a home should never have gotten into this child's hands. And I think we would all agree that we don't want to see that here. But I just implore everybody, if you hear or see or think you see something or hear something, please alert the police and alert one of our schools. The bus driver, whatever it is, alert somebody immediately. This could have been stopped in Georgia. Mm-hmm. We all know it, we're listening to it, but I don't know, there's always another story. When Sandy Hook happened, they began looking at the laws about school psychologists, and they started looking at it. Can we look at their notes from their meetings? And that came out after Sandy Hook, and they've still been fighting on that. I'm sure you could speak to that, Rebecca. They continue to fight about that, or to challenge that, because there are some things that people say, well, is that really a manifestation of this? Did this really happen because of that? we know this student had issues. So we need to make sure that we're all on this together and that we don't want anybody to get hurt, and that if you do hear something, run away from whatever you hear. If you do see something, run away from what you see or what you hear. If you're at a football game someplace else or at home and you see something or hear something, say something, but go away from whatever you see or hear. Right here in the Commonwealth, there was a football game this weekend that was canceled or moved because of a threat. So if you think it's not going to happen in Massachusetts or Rhode Island or Connecticut or New Hampshire or Maine, it's going to happen. But if we're vigilant and we work together as a community, we can at least have a chance to stop it from happening.
Certainly
you.
agree with all of that, Superintendent Legault. And to that end, it reminds me that I think it's a good idea, and I think I brought it up at the August meeting, about creating a safety subcommittee to work with superintendent and the chief of police and chief of fire, just so that we have eyes and ears on the process as well, too. Because God forbid, I can't imagine this happening. Obviously, in real life it does. But I want to make sure we're doing everything we can. And so another set of eyes or ears to sit in the meeting, listen, and maybe add something, or at least just be aware of it, to come back and keep us informed, like, hey, we're doing what we can do, there's a few more things that we're working on. Great. So if you have any inclination to be on that safety subcommittee, you can just send me a note and say, hey, I'd be on it. I'm thinking 2, maybe 3 people should be fine. I don't know what the meeting schedule would be. I'll talk to Superintendent Legault about it. I just think it's obviously such a critically important topic. So just let me know, and we'll put that together on a go-forward basis and create the definition of what that responsibility is and what the expectations are and what any kind of meeting schedule there'd be. So if you would let me know, that would be great. Reports and discussions, this is where I did not bring my timer, but the idea is we'll keep on a 10-minute cycle as best we can, and I think our principals are here to give us their rendition, their vantage point of how things opened in their school. So I don't know, Kate, you want to go first?
Good evening, nice to see everyone. You too. We were asked to keep it to about 3 minutes apiece. So 3.33 with the 3 of us to get close to that 10, right? And so Central School has had a great opening. Like Superintendent had said, we're grateful for the 13 buses. Thanks, Mr. Shea, for really working on that. The process for busing's been going really well. Our routines as far as breakfast and food service has also been really smooth. I believe when we last were here, it was right before the start. But so we had a really good open house, and I'm not sure if we had a chance to tell you that based on when we saw you last. But so things have been going really well. I will say we're starting to now get into our assessments. Our fall assessment window has opened up. We are the slowest of all schools to really dive into that because we really spend a lot of time on building relationships, expectations, and routines with our students. So that's the bulk of our work for the first several weeks of school, though the window for fall assessments did open September 3rd, and we have until October 4th. So that will be our iReady assessments and our DIBELS assessment work that we do with students. I will also share that this week we've been starting to roll out a new addition that you might have been hearing about last year, a new addition to our core literacy program called You Fly Foundations. And so our reading specialists are starting to roll that out in grades 1 and 2 and really modeling that expectation for teachers and starting to do that work with students. So we're really excited about that program as well. And that just started this week. Another thing that we're front load that's part of our first several weeks are whole group social emotional lessons that we do school-wide. So school psychologists, adjustment counselors will make sure they go into all classrooms and they talk about our common language that we use at Central School for social emotional learning and development. So what's expected and unexpected. They'll talk about personal space, and so they start to grow that common vocabulary and front load it right out of the gate. Our physical education teacher will also take time to talk about expectations for recess, talk about our buddy bench, why we have it, how we use it, all of those types of things too. So all that front loading is really important for us at the beginning of the year to sort of do things kind of slowly so that we can kind of cruise the rest of the year once we've really established a nice expectation with students. So all of those things are kind of underway. I will also share that tomorrow is our first school council meeting, and so on that agenda, we will be looking at the mission and vision that you guys have put forward, along with so many other things, but we look forward to getting that off the ground. I am looking for another parent representative on my school council, so if anybody at Central School is interested in being another parent member, we meet the first Wednesday of the month, typically, with the exception of September at 4:30, so please just send me an email if anybody is interested. That would be great. Tomorrow also starts our PTO meetings, and those are, again, the first Wednesday of the month, and we also have parent workshops that are attached to that. So our first parent workshop for tomorrow is about our WaterWise program for grade 2. This is our 4th year with the WaterWise program, so the YMCA will be coming to do a presentation on that. Just a heads up for people who might want to put it on their calendar. In October, we will do our Done with Bullying presentation, where our Done with Bullying rep, Chris Reppold, will be in to talk to families and discuss that program and the language that we use there. That will be October's. November will be more about UFly Foundations, that literacy program I spoke about for families. And December will be when we talk about our ALICE protocol and explain all of that to families about the lesson planning, the books that we use, and what their students have been learning about our standard response protocol. So those are just the first couple of our parent workshop series that are coming up. This week and next week, we also have our first grade family lunches. So we're really excited to welcome our first grade families in. Students are really excited to be big shots to show their families, the expectations in the cafeteria, how they get their lunch, where they sit. So those will be coming up this week and next week. And this Friday, we are excited to have our reading celebration. So it's a kind of culmination of our summer reading that students were asked to do. They submit their little bookmarks, they have little raffle tickets, we'll raffle off some prizes, but we'll also spend the day as a school now talking about creating our own book of poetry. Our summer reading book was Summer Here I Come, and it was a book of many different poems about summer activities that people do. And so now we're going to have a book of poetry that we create by class, Central School Here I Come, where students will have an opportunity to talk about their positive attributes and strengths, and we'll create poems by class and have our own little book as our culminating event for our summer reading.
Great, thank you.
That's the beginning.
And, sorry, it occurred to me to ask probably each and one of you, any one thing stand out that, hey, it could be better if, or one thing you might change for next year to make it even better? In your case, perhaps you want a new school, I don't know.
We'll leave all of those MSBA things to Dr. Williams when she talks about those. You know, I will say, I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure my colleagues are very similar. We are in a constant state of improvement, right? So when we talk about everything we do, we reflect on how it went. So I could tell you, we quickly say, oh, this was great, great, great. Next time, if I did this, this would be better. If I did this, this would be better. If we included this, this would have been a better way to introduce this topic or skill. So that comes from lots of different things, from professional development we started at the beginning of the year, feedback I gave some of our specialists about the PD that they did. You know what, I think next time this was a really great start, but if you lead in with something else. So we constantly are always doing that. So what I would say is, of all the things, right, ideally, things that, we can't always control. Ideally, I'll have buses ready to go at 3 o'clock, right? Those things don't necessarily happen, and I can't control all those pieces. What I will say is, ultimately, like, honest to goodness, I shared this with Mr. Pico because we walked in together. It's been a really good start. If I could have another magic wand, maybe we minimize the students that might have some difficulty transitioning. You talked a little bit about, our kindergarten students. What I'll say is, yes, some are a little apprehensive, and they're like, wow, I have to keep doing this. But I will also say the other beautiful things that we see is that my kindergartners can now, we line them up like little ducklings for the first several days. And so now we're gradually released, and they can walk in off the bus by themselves, find their classroom. There's support in the hall if they need it, but we're not like leading like little ducks in a row anymore. So all of these things, they happen relatively quickly, but we're so we try to be so precise up front. And so I'm seeing all those good things. That's growth already out of the gate. So, yeah, I'm really happy about that. But yes, there's always room for improvement for
Okay.
lots of things. But
And first graders don't even have a problem right now. They just,
first graders are experts, second graders are experts.
second
Yeah,
graders like, I got
pros.
this.
They are. So, yeah, there's always things, but that list might be, a little hit list. But
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Hi, everyone.
Evening, Matt.
There's no way that was 3.33. No, but yours will be.
I almost asked a question, but I didn't want to extend it.
I think I'm
Yours will be, right, Matt?
1.33 now. I have to echo what Keith had said as far as the start of the school year. And I'm not saying that because this is the report I have to give, but it's gone exceptionally well. I don't know if that's bad that you say it out loud. Calling out a no-hitter is not a good idea, but this was an exceptional start to the school year. I can say with confidence that we are about 3 weeks more advanced than we were last year in terms of operations, in terms of enrichment, in terms of assessment, well-being efforts, and instructional efforts. I don't know where it's coming from. It might have been the preparations that we put in place. We did try particularly hard to focus on the details and the synergy that Mrs. Dupre and I have acquired, understanding our roles and feeding off each other. But I also think in large part it comes from the level of investment from the staff and the faculty that was manifested throughout the year last year. And watching that, those preparations even start at the end of the year, so I wanted to applaud them. And as far as, speaking of operations, correct, the buildings are clean, exceptionally clean. The grounds are manicured. Open houses went extraordinarily well. Even, the drop-off, pickup routines, that usually takes like 8 to 10 days to get all the kinks out. And by day 2, it was systematically safe and tight. By day 2, and I don't know, again, where that was coming from, and even within the schedule, the daily schedule, when you're talking about all the various win blocks, the academic blocks, the lunch blocks, the special area blocks, those just seem to kind of, fall into place. And watching the actions happening throughout the day, again, had that kind of synchronicity to it that you don't see it for like another 3 weeks, but we did this year. Enrichment activities, again, off and running. We have band up and running. We have chorus up and running. We just did auditions for Finding Nemo last night. 115 kids came to the school. We're on day 8. That doesn't happen. We're on day 8, and 150 kids are already in the auditorium auditioning for a production that's on January 17th and 18th at 7 p.m. and 1 p.m. And even our assessments, we've begun all of those in step. We have our iReady assessments have started. Our fall Dibbles diagnostics are beginning. Our PLCs have been not only scheduled, but we already started those. Those are the arenas in which the teachers really bring data to the conversation and how that informs instruction. Our goal meetings and data conversations are going to be scheduled for as early as next week. And into the wellness efforts, our student support team has already met. We're going to meet again tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and that's really essential to the well-being of the students, where we really try to find the students in particular need, whatever it may be, with attendance issues, behavioral issues, academic issues, whatever it may be, and bring them to the forefront and try to address those needs, again, whatever that may be. Our DEI practices and professional development opportunities are in place, our UDL in the same step, and that feeds right into our instruction efforts, which is going to be a strong, heavy focus on review and application of our multi-tiered system of support, including our well-being efforts and, of course, our assessment efforts. All of that, to be at this particular point, 8 days into the school year, is exceptional. And I just have to applaud, first and foremost, Mrs. Dupre, who is just magnificent professional artist when it comes to school administration, and, of course, the level of investment from the faculty and their efforts throughout the school year. It's been exceptional.
Thank you. Anything you would want on your wish list to have been different, or you might do differently for next year?
Yeah, I'm trying to be better at this year, where you run into a moment in time throughout as the school year goes, to try to keep track of if we did that, let's make sure we remember 12 months from now.
Right.
When we do that again, let's remember to do that. And those are, you know, I don't want to reinvent anything. I want every time we go and do something again, it's better than what it was, no matter what it is.
Yep.
And you achieve that, you know, that's a lot.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It dawned on me that perhaps sometime through the course of the year, if someone could give us an overview of what universal design for learning, you know, just the 30,000 foot, I know because we reference it a lot, and I know, for one, I know I have the book, and I haven't read the book, but Kate has given me too many other books to read. I haven't got to it yet, so. But I just think that might be a good thing to have as a background for us to understand that, so when it does come up, we know what it references.
Sure,
So,
be happy to.
okay, hey, Bill,
How
welcome.
is everybody?
Good.
Good. Tough act to follow. I think I have about 30 seconds left based on the timer. So I'm going to talk about a lot of nuts and bolts stuff, but I'll start off by saying I think it was a very smooth opening to the school year. And it's not just coming from me talking to students, talking to staff, talking to parents. Everything just seemed to have kind of flow very nicely this year. And I think it's having that consistency of people in the center, in the main office has been huge this year. So, and even staffing. I mean, we had very, very few changes in staff. So I think that consistency is really, really important. So tomorrow is actually 9/11, the 23rd anniversary. So we have a little tribute for tomorrow. Mr. Hatchfield and a couple of his trumpet players are going to play taps for us at approximately 9:40. It should be live, I believe, on EBC TV. We're looking forward to that. It was a beautiful ceremony last year. As far as some opportunities for staff and students, we were fortunate enough last year to get a grant, a science grant, about $180,000. And we were able to send some of our teachers to St. Johnsbury Academy for AP training. So we sent 5 teachers this summer, which was great. We're already starting to see the fruits of that in our AP Bio, Physics, and APES class. We also have early college. We actually offered a class over the summer. We offered a communication and internet class that Mr. Fox taught. And we currently, right now, on the 24th, are going to be starting Intro to Business with 25 students, and an in-person class with Dr. Oslowski. It's Biology 101, all through Worcester State College. So we're excited there to have close to 50 students involved in that, which is phenomenal. Another thing we're really proud of at the start of the school year is our IT interns, something we started last year. We have 12 students that work roughly 2 per period as interns, and their job is to kind of fix, repair, troubleshoot Chromebooks. And then just in the first 8 days, talking with Matt, mentioning how quickly we've gone, we've already had 75 Chromebooks repaired
Wow.
in 8 days. It's unbelievable. The kids come in here and they're just, actually the cart's right there. They're ripping through them, and it's amazing to see how quickly they can learn how to replace a screen or a keyboard or troubleshoot a problem.
Wow.
So we've been very fortunate for that.
Those weren't all broken.
That's a whole nother story.
Those were not broken in the first 8 days?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Another thing we did this year is our NHS and Music Honor Society kids need a lot of volunteer work. So we offered some work with our IT department, and we did about 250 hours of volunteer time. A lot of that was unboxing 350 new Chromebooks, which if you've ever unboxed one, you take it out of the box, then there's a charger, then there's plastic on the front and the back and inside. And then we also did cases this year, which once again had 27 pieces of plastic attached to it before you could actually assemble the two. So it was great to have those students in here over the course of the summer. Ainsley talked about the new schedule a little bit, 1,000 more minutes of instruction per course, which is great. Guidance, we have the addition of a new adjustment counselor, Mr. Murphy. He's grades 7 to 9, and Miss Carlisle is 10 to 12. And we're already starting to see some fruits of their labor, where they're actually going out. I watched Mr. Murphy over the last couple of days, looking for students that maybe need a little support at the end of last year, and he's already right on them, ready to go, walking the halls, having conversations, and just trying to build relationships. So it's great to see. We can talk at some point about data and AP numbers and MCAS numbers. Those are all coming out now. I spoke with Mr. Leonard before this. We have 300+ athletes that are involved in our athletics for the fall, which is phenomenal. It's basically 1 in 3 students in the building. And then a marching band is 40+ kids, which is the largest it's been in a long time. And then our high school music and band programs are well over 100 combined, which is phenomenal. I'm sure you know the turf project's going on out there. We're trying to plan homecoming and a couple home games, and we had a good conversation today with one of the vendors. There's a good chance we'll be on target for the 4th and the 11th. Homecoming's probably going to be the 11th. We'll have a community dinner on the 10th of October. We have another meeting tomorrow. We'll get some more information out to staff and students about those events, because kids are concerned about buying dresses for the 10-12 homecoming dance, so we'll get that out sometime in the next couple of days. Some other things that have gone on since the start of the school year. We sent 25 students to the MIA Leadership Conference over in Abington this past week. The music department was fortunate enough to get a new music lab. So we have 24 brand-new pianos that are full-size pianos that just, it's an amazing setup down there. If you get a chance, you need to take a look at it. And Mr. Hatchfield, Miss MP, and Jake S. have been great, kind of working, setting those things up. Next week, we have a freshman dinner, so if you're around, we'd love to have you stop by. It's 6 o'clock in the auditorium on the 23rd. It's basically a way to kind of welcome our new freshmen and get them involved in, whether it be athletics or clubs or those type of things. So a lot going on and a lot of dependence on outside factors, so.
Okay, and do you have anything on your wish list, anything you change
Not really.
next year?
Not,
Wow.
honestly, the turf to be ready to go at the start of the school year.
Okay.
That would save a lot of problems. But other than that,
Perfect.
no, it's been a great year, and we feel very supported across the board, whether it's, just the amount of things that we were able to bring in this year between Chromebooks, and new equipment. We have a new laser in the lab, the new piano equipment. It's really, we've been, tremendously supported over the course of the last year, so we're very fortunate.
Great. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Speaking of that, did we get what was it you needed up in the auditorium? Was it a new projector or?
Not yet. It's on my list of what I'm presenting.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, just dawned on me.
Two things. I skipped over, but I have them right here. You asked for fall coaches and lead teachers. I'll send that around as a packet. You can keep these. I'd ask you not to just, you keep them, because they've been produced. We are waiting till the October meeting to do all schools, all of their faculty lists to make sure that you see. But you'll see some things like FMLAs on there with maternity or maybe something else, but those will be at the October 10th meeting. I do want to give Dr. Williams just a 2-minute caveat of her meeting today.
Sure.
Just to bring everybody up to speed.
Great. So for the Central School Building Project, we had interviews today. Myself, Brian Kiley, our facilities manager, and Charlie Seelig, our town administrator, were the 3 district representatives on the panel for interviews for design architects. There were 12 of us all together. We had 3 firms when we met last that we chose from the paper screening. And then we found out Friday that one of those 3 firms had bowed out of the interviews, so we ultimately only ended up interviewing 2 firms, Raymond Design and Castle Booth were the 2, so usually referred to RDA and KBA. We interviewed those firms. Both firms were extremely strong. What it ultimately came down to is RDA having more MSBA projects, specifically elementary school projects. KBA's past projects were mostly high school and safety buildings. And then, as I was sharing with Mrs. Byrne when I came in this evening, that universal design for learning, both the physical space as well as the academic space, and really accounting for all types of learners, all types of physical abilities, and how to really maximize all spaces beyond even the classroom spaces. They talked about hallway spaces, outdoor spaces. I was saying to Mrs. Byrne, I was getting excited about a potential end product just through the interview. So it was unanimous amongst all 12 members that KBA was our top choice. So they were awarded the project as the design architect firm. So we'll be negotiating a contract that will go to the Board of Selectmen, I believe, for their September 23rd meeting. And then the school building committee has a meeting on the 24th for us to vote the contract. And we'll be ready to start the process for the feasibility study. So I looked into that, Mr. McKinnon. The feasibility study will take about a year. And then the schematic design takes another year. And then an updated schematic design based on that previous year. So ultimately, we're about 3 years out before we're ready to go forward with whether it's renovation, addition, new build, whichever the combination we go with.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Right, and so obviously going back to town meeting for a vote and a special election for the vote, depending on which route we're taking. So,
All right?
Yep.
Let's see. So we did principal.
Gordon. I think they're gonna leave.
Oh, okay, thank you all for coming, appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
absolutely.
to be discreet, but
Well, I didn't want you to leave without a little thank you.
Yeah,
We appreciate what you do.
absolutely. Let's see. I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, has any of the subcommittees met since, obviously, it's only been a couple of weeks, so. Well, I just don't want to lose track of that, so as the next meetings unfold, we want to just get an update, that even if there's nothing, earth-shattering that's happened, at least know that you've met and that here's what you're working on and whatever, just to keep us moving in the right direction.
Do you want that like a roll call, almost? Is that what you're thinking? When you
Well,
say that?
I don't necessarily think we need a role, we could do it that way, I just don't think, I think as long as people are on top of it and say, hey, by the way, Committee X hasn't met, but Committee Y has, so we'll be on the agenda. Just let me know that ahead of time when we're putting the agenda together.
So far, I'm gonna
So-
send out an email for school committee goals subcommittee.
Okay,
And, policy subcommittee, right now, I don't have anything to meet about. I have policies to bring to the next meeting.
okay.
Did
All
you
right.
want to, I mean, would it make sense for the policy subcommittee to meet to discuss the handbooks? Because we do owe them feedback.
Oh, right. I feel like, after this meeting, what did we had it like right before school started, and then I got sick. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I haven't even had a second to look through them. I was gonna take the time to look through, the high school one.
But if that subcommittee wants to meet and then collectively give feedback to Gordon, or,
Yeah,
you
that
know.
would be great. I know there's a lot, but hopefully with this kind of schedule, we'll have a little bit of more flexibility to do that, so. That would be great. And I thought there was one other thing you just mentioned, but it'll come to me. The next agenda item is a discussion around school committee council, which we use Valerio. Dominello. Okay.
We have two. We work with Valario, Dominello, and Hillman.
Right.
They're your council.
Right.
And then we also work with Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lahane, who is special education, works on John J. Fallon's side, but also works for student issues with our principals, Alicia St. Florent.
Okay, thank you. And so we can talk about whatever you want under this topic, except we cannot go into specific situations with employees or situations. We have to be very cognitive of, personnel issues need to stay personnel issues and stay private. But in a general sense, we can talk about the councils and whatever your thoughts are
I would
about
like to say one
changing.
thing. I
Sure.
would like to say something about our school committee council, is that we've had this school committee council since, I believe, 2017. And we've never had an issue with them. And anytime I ever worked with Nick or Jen or Liz Valerio, they were already great, they were all great to work with. And anytime working with Liz, Valerio, and Nick, they always said that they are our school committee attorneys and that they represent us. And also, the other thing is that, I don't know if anyone's aware, well, you probably will be, Gordon, but they're also, Valerio, Dominello, and Hillman is highly regarded with the MASC, and that they actually do workshops for the MASC at their conferences and other various places.
Great, thank
So
you.
I just wanted to put that out there.
Yep, no, I agree. Any contact I've had with particularly Nick or Liz Valerio's excellent.
I wonder if it makes sense as part of like the orientation package to include their information and what their purposes are for what they,
Yeah.
Well, you know what would be great?
Becky had mentioned that to me. I'll add that to the
We
orientation.
had a workshop, so in the past, we've actually had them come and do a workshop with us, with the school committee. And then you guys can ask questions, you know, and they can, they talk about a lot of things. So that would be something good for everybody to participate in.
Yes, and thank you for reminding me. I had asked Nick if he could come here tonight because I wasn't sure what questions were going to come up. But he has a commitment with another school committee. But I'm sure he was certainly willing to come. He just had a conflict. When I got back, or actually before I even got back, I saw that was on the agenda, and I reached out to him to ask him if he could be here, but he had a conflict. So he can be at anyone, we can do a workshop, whatever, but I'll open the floor. What thoughts people have, and how do you want to move forward with this?
And Becky was kind enough while you were away to schedule a call for me to have an introduction call with Nick, which I thought was very helpful.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
excellent, okay.
How often are we using them?
As needed, I guess is the right answer. Obviously, coming up with the negotiations with the Teachers Association, they'll be at all of those meetings and then some, and meeting with us. So that's probably the heaviest lifting they do.
And
I don't know.
occasionally, I might send them something, a policy or a question. I just emailed Jen,
King.
I just emailed Jen King today to ask her a question
Yeah.
about a line in a policy to see if it could stay or had to be taken out or whatever, if it was legal.
Yep. And thank you. And if you look at the course of a quote-unquote typical year, Liz, where's the most contact typically come with them? Or is it totally
Personnel.
unique each year?
With VDH, with Nick, it would definitely be personnel.
Yeah. And so,
Student issues is Alicia. Yeah, I mean, they do the student issues, whether it's regardless special ed needs or 504 or regular ed, because it streamlines it.
Right.
The principals just call us and ask, or call me, or Dr. Williams or Jay and say, I'd like to call Alicia on this matter. And we usually say, yep, or come on down and we'll do a conference call. We've had a lot of PRSs. The new commissioner comes from the special education background world. Jay and I talked about that today, and he's now on the other side. He's now the interim commissioner, and he's brought in a lot of people to, there was a lot of backlogged PRSs, not just from, so they're looking at everything. And so some of the things that got backlogged at times are now caught up, and he's bringing a lot of people in for that, so.
right. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, so the schools hire the legal counsel for student issues, and we hire our own counsel
For
for
school
school committee
committee.
issues. Okay, so, okay, I just want to make sure that that's the clarity.
Murphy, Hesse, and Toomey Lehane is known as a special education
Right.
guru. They also have general, and they also do represent many school committees.
Yep.
And so does VDH. They also represent
Right.
special needs, and we've used them before. However, because of the laws, and they change, and the compliance issues that are they just change so quickly. Especially, one of the things both attorneys talked to the principals about when they were here is the new Title IX laws and the policies that you brought up today to me. Making sure that we understand them, know what to do with them. We had a meeting just about student discipline today, and we met with our teachers, met with our principals during our administrative retreat. Alicia St. Florent was here, gave them a 3-ring binder, gave them everything in it, and then today, Desi, and it's like you say, we've had a great opening. Desi sent us a compliance sheet that said, have you met with your principals? Have you gone over the brand-new laws? Have you given them spoken? for data collection, for investigatory processes, what are your protocols, are your policies matching up, is there's an overarching policy? And all the principals signed off today, all the assistant principals signed off. Dr. Williams is actually going to meet in a week or so with Amy Stevens and the group on data, on what data is reported, how it gets reported, what happens when it gets reported and when it goes. And Amy actually came into our meeting today because she is our district reporter, and she had some questions for the principals. So we're learning all the time, and we're making sure that all three principals do the same thing, and the district does the same thing. So, and Alicia was on the phone with me yesterday and sent me, and Joanne Connors works on that side for us and put a whole packet together, and we were ready to go with the principals today, so.
Thank you. And I think, to Amy's point, I think it's a great idea. We'll make sure we add that legal aspect to the orientation for new members coming on. And just for my own clarification, my assumption is you deal with Nick Dominello with regard to personnel issues, because personnel is really under the umbrella of the school committee, correct? Since we sign all the contracts, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where that.
Yeah, it's human resource, right?
Right, exactly. Okay.
So where does that all sit from a budgetary standpoint?
The,
Do we, how much are we expending for legal services? And how are we factoring that in? Because,
Probably more this year because we're going into negotiation.
right,
But historically.
yeah.
and I don't want to put you on the spot for,
It sounds like you already did.
you don't have to provide that information tonight, but I think that needs to be
Yeah, sure.
something that we consider for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yep.
Whether outsourcing HR is budget friendly. 'Cause that's
Well,
what it sounds like we're doing.
Yeah, well,
You
that's
are?
what we're looking at. I think.
Why he's most used with Liz.
I just think we need to know.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. There's obviously a line item, I just don't know off the top of my head, and I don't expect you guys to know, but you can let us know by the next meeting, hey, the last 3 years, here's what we've spent. I'm sure
Well,
it's
it'll
not the
come up in
same
the
number.
budget subcommittee meeting. It'll
Right.
come up, I'm
Yes, it
guessing.
will.
It has to
We've-
come up in
yep.
the budget subcommittee meeting for us to make some sort of
Right.
decision, right? So.
Yeah.
I think one of the barriers is, Amy, to your point about the orientation, is I think we as members, unless you're chair, don't interact with council very often. It's just, I don't know if that's a written policy we have or just something that's kind of been handed down. So you're kind of at the mercy of just hearing about this person, not knowing what he does. You hear that Liz also uses him, and I think it creates confusion. I certainly have been one of those people with confusion. And I think that when we get an opportunity to talk to Nick, when you get an opportunity for that, he outlines it in a way that just it makes sense, and it eliminates some of the confusion about why he is supporting us, but also why does he have conversations when Liz needs him to have conversations, right? So I think that highlighted for me from the orientation perspective about if we can be preventative to get ahead of any confusion in explaining that process, then as a committee, we're more trusting and understanding of who is legally guiding us, right? It's not exactly helpful when you're just hoping legal in the chair are the people giving you all the information, right? So it's nicer when you know that you can trust the other person on the other side.
I think
I
that's,
wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have known that or felt that if I didn't have the opportunity to talk to Nick as much in the last week, just in covering for Gordon. So I think that's what highlighted it for me.
I think not only just documenting it, but maybe then that is a step in the orientation process
Yeah,
that
sure.
you then meet. If it was offered, I missed it, so I,
It wasn't.
okay. I wouldn't want to cost the district more money by having him meet with me specially, so, but if that's valuable, then I'm happy to do it.
If we had a workshop.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
because we get billed when anybody talks to us.
Right.
So if we had a workshop, then everybody could hear the same thing.
Right.
and ask questions. My understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ellen or Liz, is that the idea that everything funnels through the chairperson just for efficiency's sake, so that Nick now knows, in this case, Nick now knows, okay, I'm the current chair, so more than likely, he's gonna hear from me. I don't think there's any kind of unwritten there's no rule that I know of that one of you couldn't call him. It's just a matter of efficiency-wise. If you have a question that you think is legally based, you come to me, I'll go to him and get back to you. Or if you want to be on that call, I can make that happen too. It's just the idea of just trying to control the cost as best we can.
Makes sense.
And, like I say, there's no doubt in my mind, if you have spent 10 minutes with him, he's professional, knowledgeable, and takes his job to heart, that he wants to really help. And so I've dealt with different lawyers over the years, God help me, but he certainly is a good one. That's my opinion. But again, I've dealt with him, not everybody has, so. But it's always on the table, and I'm glad the question came up, because it illuminates the whole area. As Becky had just pointed out, like, well, no one would know that, because unless you're the chair, you don't really deal with them. And then to add it to the orientation program is absolutely the right thing to do. And maybe it's just a matter of having a call with them too. Doesn't have to be here physically, but certainly to outline it, hey, here's our relationship with legal.
Yep.
Okay, anything else anyone has on that topic?
I think the other note is something learned last week, is that whomever is our counsel, the way it was explained to me, will always also work with the superintendent. Like, that will be, so whether it is Nick that we're reaching out to for something, and if we went another route one day and we chose other counsel, that counsel will be the counsel that Liz reaches out to for issues regarding policy. So that was new information to me, so I just wanted to share it for others, so no matter who we're using as counsel, I keep calling it a package deal. Like, that's going to be like a package deal. So that relationship will always exist, that the superintendent of the school is always calling our counsel when there's issues with staff or student. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that part.
And the other point too is that, yes, we have an arrangement with that legal office, but it isn't a contract. I mean, it isn't a contract in the sense that, oh, they're ours until X, Y, Z. If we told them, see ya, we want somebody else, we can do that. I'm correct with that, Liz, right? I think that's what I understood, so it's not like we absolutely have to stay with them for the next 12 years or something, so. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we'll move on after that and talk about strategic plan. I know our current strategic plan, which is a copy in our documents, is due to run through this year. So the process is starting to look ahead for the next 2 or 3 years?
And we met with our principals at the beginning of the school year. Everybody is working on their school improvement plans, and will continue to follow our strategic plan, which is then funnels down to their school improvement plan, and we'll keep moving forward with it. I was on the phone with ClearGov last week, and I'll be on with next week, because we're using ClearGov to put it up on our website, and they're helping us put it into the format that they have. It's like a timeline of, this had been completed, just like you have, but it looks a little bit different, and then they help you format it, so it gets up there. Because we used to use ClearGov, and we just traded it in for the strategic plan model, because that's how you do your budget, is to follow strategic plan, and we thought that might be more useful for people to see that than just seeing the ClearGov website, the graphs and things.
So, excuse me, do you have a timeline in mind to be set up with the next strategic plan, since this one expires or ends in 2025?
I would hope that we would scaffold and continue to scaffold on the progress that we've made within this strategic plan, and say, what were the great strengths of this? And how do we continue to monitor it, and what didn't we get accomplished?
Okay.
Because there's always, like, as Kate said, there's always something that you want to do.
Yeah.
Or that you want to look at, and in a year from now, there may be something else that we want to add with inside. I mean, I believe under social emotional and instructional, I mean, DEI just collapsed in there. We may say we want diversity, equity, inclusion.
Okay.
As its own, I think we went down to 3. So, and that sort of goes right across all of them, really.
Yep.
So, but that's how we talk about it, where are we, what have we accomplished, what are we still working on, what needs more work, how are we going to do the work, who's going to be in charge of this, and the, like we did last year, they will start to come in and start to talk about those 3 areas, and we still have people that will come in and talk to the school committee.
Great, okay,
I have a question.
sure.
Oh, sorry.
You go ahead first.
Just understanding that this is all ongoing, right? It evolves. Is there anything, again, because I'm still orientating myself, is there anything on here that had a date of, a previous year that wasn't able to be accomplished? Doesn't look like it has, like, it just says like begins or.
Well, that's why we, on ours, I think we have our timeline. Do you have the timeline on yours?
It says timeline, but like something that says like by June 2023, like, do we know if that
Yes, it did.
happened?
Yeah, and that's what this over here, and we probably just didn't get there, but that's on ClearGov, that's what I'm doing right now with them, is it expands out, and it sort of looks like this, but it's more of a timeline, and it says this happened January 1st, 2022.
Awesome.
They've continued to have these PDs up until this date. DEI, this is what we've done, so.
Yeah, I think that was feedback we had on the last year, the year before, is that, okay, all this looks great here on paper, but where do we know where we are in the progress there? Is it complete? And so that's why I think we added a column in there.
Yeah, for timelines, and there'll be it'd be more specific. You'll start to see more specific.
Where would we see like some of like the results from some of these things? So when I look at this, like the third one down on strategy is train all staff on tracking, social emotional data and Panorama. And it's by December 2022 annually for new staff. So am I to assume that annually for new staff, it's maybe COVID got the best of Panorama, and I think I remember Panorama didn't really communicate well with some of our systems, if I remember right. So if this is just something that we have to chalk up as saying that's, something that maybe we'll go a different direction in the future.
Right.
But then I look at, the next one down, it's administer a student and family experience survey incorporating questions to the DESI vocal survey, beginning and end of each school year. Like, do we do that?
We did it last year.
Yep.
And when do we see the results?
We talked about it.
Yeah.
So those are our student success surveys?
Right, I remember I remember seeing that, it was
Right.
great information, so we'll get another one of those. So it says at the beginning and the end of each school year, so we'll see another one that's,
You just spoke about it.
Yeah, so we do it every spring. So this past year was the first year that we have had
The
what we're
results
going
from.
to
I
go
gotcha.
forward with because the questions changed a little bit.
Okay.
We went from 5 criteria to 4 criteria so that we didn't have
yeah, I
that
thought that was
middle.
fantastic, so that's something that will
Yep.
carry on.
Yep,
Okay,
yep, so we can plan to have that at a meeting. It's been shared with administration and staff as well, the results from last spring. And we did a side-by-side comparison of the previous year, because it's the first time we've had 2 consecutive years of the same questions being asked.
great to have reoccurring data, so you can, perfect.
Yes. And they came up with ways to change it, and I was like, no. We're keeping it the way it is.
Awesome, thank you.
When there's things that have been completed in terms of the scaffolding, so obviously there's many things that it can make sense that in the next years of a strategic plan, they'd be ongoing. But are some new things added in? I mean, scaffolding doesn't mean we're just keeping it all the same, right? There's going to be some new in there?
Well, you're always gonna see, like, if you go to strong instruction, there's the curriculum cycle, so there's always gonna be a new curriculum. In the cycle, Dr. Williams brings it, talks about it at the meetings, and says, this is what we've come up with, this is what the teachers like, this was the plan to go out. That's one of those check boxes that I'm gonna have put on there. That's why I sort of switched from what ClearGov had and was gonna go with their model, because it's easy to read to go across, like, okay, what cycle were we in, what did we already do, what did we buy? And they also have a budget piece in there that says we spent 300,000, but 157,000 this year and 157 next year for curriculum.
Oh, Yeah, it
It's-
changes
yeah.
depending on the content area, knowing that ELA and math tend to be our highest.
So I mean, we would say, you know, it's June 30th, 2024, we spent, I don't know, 157,000 on, and then the math, and then next year, June 30th, we spend on math, but yet we also bought 60,000 of whatever, wherever we're at. Do we look at this often? Yes, we bring it to our principals meetings, and we do. We probably go over this a couple of times a year, maybe 3 or 4 times in a meeting, just to look at this and say, where are we at? How are we doing on this? What's happening? So we do talk to our principals on that, and you should be able to see it in their school improvement plans. It's just like the handbook. I mean, I think Ellen had said once, or maybe it was you, Peter, when we talked about something not being a school committee policy, but it was in the handbook. If it's in the handbook, we've agreed to being in the handbook, and it is a overarching school committee policy. That's sort of what this is on those school improvement plans. So, as broad as it may seem in here, as you go into the school improvement plan, it will then tweeze it out at each school.
Anything else on strategic plan?
Well, I'm just curious, since we're talking about it, safety care training, what is that?
Jay?
Yeah. Safety care training is a nonviolent crisis resolution training that a lot of our staff go through. We have a series of trainers here in the district so that we're able to, instead of farming it out and sending our staff out to somebody else to train, we do the training here in the district. So a lot of our ISAs are trained in it. A lot of our teachers are trained in it. We are going through a cycle where we've got some new staff who are coming on board who now need to be trained, and that's a little bit of a lengthier training. But the biggest piece of it that really is great for all staff to know is the de-escalation. You know, as Superintendent McGo talked earlier about just some of the situations in the world, we've all run into those things, whether you're in a Dunkin' Donuts, you're in a line at the bank, or you're in the grocery store in Trucci's, and somebody's just having a bad day. How do you de-escalate that? How do you run into that person in the hallway? What do you need? What's going on? Who can I get to support you? Where do I get you to? And that really is the biggest piece to me of it. It does get a little bit more intensive if you do have to go to a position where you have to put your hands on somebody. How do you do that? How do you do that in a safe manner so that you're not being disrespectful to that person who's having a tough day, but you're also making sure that everyone is safe. Okay? So that's what safety key training is.
That's awesome, thank you. That happens every year?
Happens every year. Every year. So there's a recertification training calendar, and then every 3 years or so, people have to go through like a fuller training.
Awesome, thank you.
Next up is the MASC workshops I had brought up that I had requested from MASC. I think we came up with maybe 4 workshops we thought would be helpful. And I realized, sorry, because I was away, I realized I never got a response back. They said they passed my request on to the head of MASC, Glenn Kuchar, and come to find out, I think Ellen has mentioned to me that our regional rep or
Our field rep.
that they haven't replaced him, he retired, so I suspect we're sort of in limbo until they get somebody to do that, play that role. So, but I will follow up with them again tomorrow. And also, while I'm thinking of it, you'll see a note from me later on tonight when you're back to your computers, or tomorrow, whatever, with regard to the SuperVal software workshops, just to bring us all back up to speed on that. I forwarded you the contact for Gretchen, who works for the company, and what I suggested in my note was that if we individually reach out to her, she'll do an individual training session with a Zoom session. But if you do that, if you can share with us, like, oh, hey, Becky reached out to her and she's got a Zoom with her next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. If it works for somebody else, you could say, hey, I'll be on that. That's fine too. Or if we ended up having to have 6 separate ones, that's okay too. She'll do any of that stuff. She's very.
You want to try and do one altogether?
I just figured in order to come up with a
That
date.
sounds like a nightmare.
It's
to try to organize.
it's like
For us,
impossible.
to try to organize?
Yeah.
I think that, I love the teamwork, but I think I would probably be the most guilty of being like, can't do that day, can't do that day.
Yeah, we all
I
know
just,
that. Becky.
yeah, I mean,
We
right,
just
I
assume.
own it, so I'd be the
That's okay.
one kicked out.
Well, you might find, like I said, it might be one or two that end up working for a few people, and that's fine too. It's not like we're paying for the workshops. She's welcome, she'll welcome doing it for anybody, or whatever, at least that's been my experience, so. And I, for one, want to go back through it just to make sure I'm up to date with it, so.
And we've done it before.
Yeah, we have.
So
Yeah.
you're talking kind of like a refresher?
Yeah, just a refresher, if that's be the case, yep, so. And the other thing is the MASC conference resolutions, I think they're part of your package. We don't have to discuss them tonight, but in our October meeting, we need to at least have a discussion to say what we support and what we don't, so that when Peter goes to represent us at the conference, he knows how we wanted to vote. Now, the reality is, by the time you get to that meeting, other committees have suggested tweaks and tunes, so it's never quite 100% what you see and hear, but you get the gist of it. And so if Peter gets a feeling from us, yeah, we're in favor of this, or we're against this, then he can relate that vote when he has that opportunity. And then you'll have to be a little bit flexible, because there'll be some tweaks and tunes, and you'll have to judge, yeah. And it's not binding, it just gives them direction when they're working with legislators, that, hey, we've polled all of the school committees, and they're in favor of this or against that, or whatever, so it's not like written in stone, but, just to give you that feedback, so. Okay,
I think the other note is, it's more than a discussion on the 10th, we have to vote,
yeah,
right? So it's more than the chat.
Yes.
We have to give Peter the votes that day.
Yes.
So we can certainly, like you said, be
Yeah.
discussing, but we have to all come to the meeting with our own understanding of how we want to vote one way or the other.
yeah, and
Do you remember
for,
what those dates were? You know the dates that you sent in the email about going to the MASC thing about the resolutions?
They offered one, I don't remember the date offhand,
I don't either.
but I can go back and
Recent,
send
yeah,
the email.
Somewhere around now, if it didn't already happen.
well, I'm sure we could have some sort of, I could reach out and find a, I know they
We
do
can
those.
scroll back in the email, it's,
Yeah.
it's right in there, I just don't remember the date. It was an evening, I think?
There was
I think it
learning
was a
lunch, and then there
Tuesday
was
evening. It might be the 24th in the evening,
Okay.
if I'm right about that.
Well, and just for reference sake, I know I get taken aback by the whereases and the whereases. It's when you scroll down to therefore be it resolved.
Yes.
Those are the key elements to that particular resolution. That's what they're looking to change. The whereases give you the background for, maybe you already know that, so forgive me for, tell you something you already know, but,
Well, it's
so,
like
I know that was news to me, but, so, okay.
Didn't we read them, like,
Tuesday, September 24th, 6 PM, on Zoom or in Quincy.
Yes, that would be helpful. Well, anybody that wants to hear about the resolutions, well, especially probably Peter.
I'll make, I wrote it down, Tuesday, 24th.
What was the date, what was the time?
September 24th, 6 PM,
How much, 6 p.m.?
6 PM. I registered for it, but I never got an email, so I think I have to do it again.
St. Peg didn't get one either.
But Becky did.
Oh.
I did.
Yeah, that's weird. You should get us some kind of a link to.
Yeah. So I'll do it again.
Well, I got a link to the Friday one, the one that was this past Friday. Is that what you were talking
Oh,
about?
no.
That's the one I got a link to.
Oh, okay.
Oh, maybe
No, I
not.
registered for whatever.
Gotcha.
Was that a learning lunch?
That was a learning lunch.
Maybe the far out one, they didn't do the link yet for the Zoom.
Yeah, and just so you know, I
I was
think last
confused about-
meeting I mentioned to you that you should be getting stuff on a regular basis from MASC, just informational stuff about, on a statewide basis, kind of helps with the background of what we're all dealing with. So you should see that, and there's also, every Friday, I think is it every Friday, Ellen, that they have a learning lunch? Or is it scheduled?
It's scheduled.
It might be scheduled, so it's not every Friday, but Fridays at noon to like 12 to 1, they have a learning lunch, and somebody very knowledgeable at MASC will talk about a relevant topic. So it's nice to know. Okay? As I already mentioned, the superintendent evaluation software will reach out individually, and I think in my note that I sent you, I said maybe if we can all target to have that done in October, so we're not dragging it out even further, but I think that gives us enough time to, you know, and usually it takes, I don't know, half an hour, not too much longer. It's pretty straightforward.
Can I give you one last update?
Sure.
So I reached out to the town clerk again about finding out if we could have an alternate to the,
Oh, that's right, for the capital.
yeah, and I still haven't heard back. I just
Okay.
reached out to her within the last probably 4 or 5 days or so,
Okay,
and I'm waiting to hear.
all right. And I'll meet with the two of you just to give you an update. Dan, you probably already know, just sort of the format of it and how each department comes in and presents, you know, what their needs are, and there's a form they have to fill out, and there's certain criteria they have to meet, so, just to have that background. We're up to the business report from the school business administrator, which I think is John.
So I gave you a two-page document tonight. I don't have an update on the operational budget status. It usually takes me till the end of September to make sure expenses are accurately reflected in the correct accounts. New staff are accurately, the salary is reflected in the correct accounts. Make sure all the grants are set up and expenses are recorded correctly, so I will have an operational update at the next meeting, operational budget update at the next meeting. I did provide you the revolving fund balances, very similar to where we ended up at year end. Nothing stands out as a surprise. You can see bus fees, the bus fee account has gone up because it's the new year. You can see Little Vikings has dropped, and that's because at the end of June is when a lot of the revenue is in, but there's no expense for the summer. So I think we still continue to be in pretty good shape with our revolving funds. I don't know if you have any questions on that.
So, John, probably in our October meeting, you can wrap up the fiscal year. Everything will be in for 2024.
Yes,
That's what
I'll give you an update for how we ended up for fiscal year 2024. We finally got the results of the 2023 year-end audit, so I'll give you a summary of that, and I can also send out the audit report.
Yeah, and if you can do that so that we have it that
10
10 days
days, maybe.
prior, it'll give us a chance to digest it. So I'm sure there'll be a lot there, so, okay?
Last year, I think the last couple of years, I've provided an update of work that went on over the summer, so I'm doing it again. So this year, under information technology, we transitioned to a new managed service provider, a company called Secure One. They're an outside firm that manages our servers and switches. They provide updates to those switches. They let us know if they see any problems with those servers or switches. That was something that every year it goes out to bid, and some of it is reimbursed through E-rate. We prepped laptops for all the new staff. We got 300 Chromebooks ready for grade 3 and grade 7, and I think Principal Silva also mentioned that the students were in helping, which they were a great help. This year, we got Chromebook covers for all the new Chromebooks. I'm hoping that really helps with the breakage issue. We installed a new access control system. We started the rollout of new touch views here at the high school. We rolled out 16 touch views and new Chromebooks for the grade 7 and 8 teachers. We trained the new IT interns. We installed 2 new video display monitors at Mitchell. If you come into our gym here, you'll see that monitor, which you can put anything you want on it. It's a display monitor, so Mitchell School wanted a couple of them for the students to get information out to the kids and staff, so we installed 2 at the Mitchell School. We replaced the camera video management system and installed a new server for that. Now all our cameras are on one system, and it's a hybrid model, and you can actually access the cameras mobily.
Right.
We removed 110 teacher desktops from classrooms. So when we rolled out laptops years ago, there were teachers that really were attached to their desktops. It's become a security issue because those desktops are not being updated for security anymore, so we removed all of them. And Gordon, you talked about safety. One of the things we did at the end, or pretty close to one of the last days at school, we sent out information to all the staff regarding power strips and how they can be dangerous if they're old. So we actually, we did a survey for the staff, and we replaced 107 power strips and threw out the old ones over the.
Excuse me, John, on the heading of safety, I meant to ask you, so the camera coverage that we have in all 3 schools now, right? The police have access to that?
Yes.
They can okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Facility related, we updated all of the weight room equipment. Principal Silva talked about the piano lab and the new laser cutter for tech ed, and Brian Kiley helped us replace the carpet in the before and after care. Food service department, they did a lot of work with equipment, 4 mixers, milk coolers, commercial food steamers, prep tables, and lights and new condiment carts. They did a lot of work at the Mitchell School, revamping the kitchen there. So what didn't we get accomplished? The auditorium, projector and controller, processor replacement. We met with the engineer a couple weeks ago, so we're just waiting to get that scheduled. That equipment, I've been told that the company has ordered the equipment. We're just waiting to get that scheduled. And when that is being done, the cafeteria sound system will be fixed, and the gym sound system will be fixed. The same company's handling all 3 of those. The switch project and the access point Wi-Fi replacement, we didn't get final approval from E-rate until August, so we couldn't schedule those projects. The switch project is pretty intensive. It's something we have to work with the town on because it involves their switches also. Waiting for Ryan to get back from vacation to try to figure out when the best time is for that. Ultimately, something always goes wrong with the switch project. We put a fiber line in the wrong port, and we find out that a school isn't up and running, so we want to be cognizant of the fact that something probably simple that could be fixed, but we want to be cognizant of the fact about timing. The access point, the Wi-Fi replacement, that's all the access points here we will be replacing. Working with the company to find out the best time to do that. It may be over school vacation week. Working on getting final quotes on the main entrance, the video intercom system, and get rid of the doorbell we bought at Dewhurst. With the switch project, we'll be upgrading the network speed from 1 gigabyte to 2. Should see a vast improvement throughout the district. The box truck is scheduled to be ready sometime around the end of the month. And we've already talked about the turf, track, and lighting. And so what two things need to be addressed? The bell intercom system here is failing. We need to figure out what to do with that. And the alarm system here, it works. It has some bugs in it, but we definitely need to address that.
If you could, John, and maybe we'll capture it in the tickler system, just as, as these things do get done, these pending in progress, you can just give us an update. Oh,
Sure.
by the way, this is complete, that would be great. Thank you.
Can I just say something? I think this is so awesome, and I wish that everybody watched the school committee meetings, but obviously they don't. But I think that it would be so cool if we let the parents know about the way that we invest in the schools in the district for like the big ticket things, like the piano lab, the weight room, the Chromebooks, because I bet you that parents don't, and it's so, so awesome. So thank you. And, I mean, it would be cool if we told people.
I think we try to.
Yeah.
We do. We can put it out, you could put that right on Parent Square tomorrow and put how much money is spent next to it. I mean, the budget, we do it at the budget meeting. and
Yeah.
It's probably not a bad idea to get into some form of like routine or cadence with regards to sending out on Parent Square budgetary type things or safety. I mean, we can always talk about safety every single day, so I agree, it's probably a good opportunity to.
We can put that out.
I mean, I just think you did so much work over the summer, and I think it should be applauded, and the parents should know, like, these are the great things that your school is offering your children.
Great, anything else?
Cut down on damaged Chromebooks, too.
Well, we're hoping the covers will help. And the interns are great in repairing the minor breaks.
Okay, anything else on that?
Thank you.
We can move on to our action items. Action required after review on payroll warrants 9 PS dated 8/28/2024.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I abstain.
Oh, abstain, I'll say, so I have to pass this along, or, Michael's at home watching, he's gonna, so, on the payroll warrant, one abstention, and you don't have to
I
do it
voted in
anymore.
favor.
Okay. One abstention, and the rest okay. All right, action required after review on accounts payable warrants, 8 SW, 8/21/24, dated 8/21/24, 10 SW, is SW a new denotion? I don't remember seeing SW before. John?
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
just the way it's named in the soft right system.
Okay, so 9/4/24 dated 8/28/24.
So moved.
Moved by Ellen, and second by, okay, and then all in favor? Aye. No abstentions, that's good. 6. Approve August 20th, 2024 school committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm sorry, I think by technical Robert's rules, we should always have a discussion, but I don't think we need to skip. I'm assuming if somebody had something to say, they would say it as we were going through this. Okay. Action required to approve homeschool education plans as reviewed and recommended by Assistant Superintendent Dr. Gina Williams.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Quick question, sorry.
Yes.
Are you noticing, this list seems much larger than last year, are you noticing a trend or hearing more from other superintendents that there is more of a trend in homeschooling?
Yes. Well, it was way up during COVID.
Yeah.
Came down a little bit. But in communications with other districts, I mean, one thing that we've all acknowledged is since COVID, there's a lot more online programming available
Yeah.
to families. I mean, you'll always see trends with families continuing to homeschool all of their children, but definitely there's more options. It's become a lot easier for parents to homeschool students with the amount of resources and access that's out there now.
Yeah.
So this is a a large number. I think there's about 40 of them.
Yeah.
So do you individually have to review all of these plans?
I do. So I review the plans, as well as their progress updates at the end of each year.
And I guess I should know this, but I don't. So though, that number, whatever it is, 40 students, whatever, they're included in our enrollment numbers, or no?
No,
Because they're homeschooled?
yes,
Okay. So they're not part of our funding, they're not any of that?
no. They have access to what we offer for co-curricular activities if they want to take advantage of it. But they ultimately, if they continue homeschooling throughout their education, they would not receive a diploma from the school district. So I just look to make sure that the standards that they're following for each grade level is aligned to the school district. We've had many students who have been homeschooled and then transition back into the public schools. So we just want to make sure that we're, staying aligned and keeping them up to date on what they should be learning at each grade level so that that transition's not so difficult.
And so if they don't get a diploma through our system, our district, do they get one from the state, or what
No,
happens?
so a lot of times families will opt for standardized testing that they'll take advantage of, or entrance exams for colleges. So we've had many students who have gone on to secondary, higher ed, universities and
okay.
colleges through that. And then we have also a lot of the students that take advantage of dual enrollment. So they're enrolled in college courses even while they're being homeschooled.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that was discussed. So
Yep.
we did the motion, we did second, and all in favor?
Aye.
So moved, 6, okay. And then, I don't believe we need to take action on school committee council, is that correct? So we can just pass that? Okay, so no action. And before we adjourn, I just want to make sure I touched on a couple of things. Oh, by the way, is this the first year we did these? These are kind of cool little things. I like this. This is certainly very manageable.
Well, we do them in our office, and we've done them in our office in the past. It's time consuming, it's a lot of paper, it's a lot. And it's also, I want people to know that we believe that they are professionals. And sometimes handing someone a piece of paper and saying, hey, take a look at these rules, these are the policies that you follow. I pass those out, whether to custodians or the administrative assistants, and all of them took them, and they're like, wow, thank you. This is manageable, I can keep it in my pocketbook, I can keep it wherever. It is small print, and I'm gonna talk to, when we do the EBEA, I will speak with, Happy Frog did them, we thank them for that, but I will talk to them about that and see if we can do something different. But if you're going to act like a professional, then we as a district must treat people as a professional organization. And I think sometimes, we try to get things out fast and we try to get them out, and it comes out like, this looks nice, but when we're handing out a policy and someone, has a book that says, this is how much you make a year, and these are the things that you need to do, and you gotta follow school committee policy and protocol, it should come out
Sure,
as a professional booklet, or,
I agree.
Before we adjourn, can I ask something?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I think we had talked about an update on the extracurricular positions.
I gave them to you.
Okay.
There's something that was handed out.
I handed them
Yeah,
out.
Liz
Yeah,
just
this.
handed them out.
Fall
Oh,
coaches,
so those are
and
the
then
coaches, but I was wondering about like these
If you look at the next,
advisors.
if you look at the next page,
The lead teacher
the
one?
lead teacher positions, that's what
Okay.
we have so far. Some of that, they're just coming through. That's why
Yeah.
I said in October, you will get a full cadre of them.
Okay.
We also had the union come back to it, the EBEA come back to us. A couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, we switched to paying them once at the end of the school year. I'm sorry, at the end of the sports season or the end of the activity that they were a stipend personnel for. Kurt Shippey came in and spoke with me, I think in July, August, we had a meeting, and he said, look, we'd like to go back to, there used to be 3 payments. And what that does is it puts a strain on payroll, and it puts a strain on that office, and it's just, because every couple of weeks, now you're doing an extra check, and you're doing, it's a lot. And so, that's why I went down to one. Now, we had a discussion, and we went down to two, so then we had to send out all of these, and we had to redo our memorandum with them, so we just did that. They will be in October 10th. They'll also be listed, you'll have all those, but you'll also have the list of each school individually of what teachers are at those schools, what their names are, what they teach, have they been moved? Did they go from the Central? We have 2 teachers that went from Central to Mitchell last year, I can't admit. And 1 teacher from Mitchell to the high school this year, last year. McCade,
This-
Was it McCade this year? It was this year.
No,
was
last year
last year.
moved, but moved a grade this year.
Oh, and then moved to grade. So you'll see you'll see the transitional on that.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
We need to sign these together tonight.
Yeah, what I said at the beginning is, there's documents over there, if on your way out, you can sign them. One of them is the school committee goals, one is the school committee protocols, and the others are these warrants that we just approved, payroll and accounts payable. And one of the other things that I'll ask Michael to add to our agenda format is a line item on school committee goals. I think that's an important area that we need to touch base on periodically, if not since we're only meeting once a month, I think to have that line item on there and identify anything that we've done. So for instance, one of the bullet points is to have workshops and improve all of our education with regard to school committee, and also that'll be something that, we can just I'll take a quick look at the goals and see what it is that we either have done or are working on or need to plan.
Do you think we'll try to have a piggybacked workshop, like with our attorneys and also MASC? Like do a joint one, a field rep from MASC for part of it, and then have our attorneys for part of it?
Yeah, as whatever I can put together, as soon as, I'm sure our attorneys will be happy to do whatever. I just need to hear back from MASC if we do, in fact, have a field rep at this point in time, so. All righty, and I think that was all of my notes. So, with that, anything else? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Now, that one comes quick. Oh, the other ones I have to beg for, but to adjourn, they're all right on it.
All in
Oh,
favor?
I'm sorry?
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
thank you.
Aye.
Gina, I'll reach out to you about, I don't know when, there's a good time.